Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing the best Dragon Pokemon in the entire Ultra League, and one of the best Pokemon you can use overall for that league, and that is Kyurem. Kyurem got a big rework this season with Dragon Breath generating more energy. This allows Kyurem to spam out Debuff and Glaciates every 10 turns, allowing it to basically win every neutral matchup. This allows it to take down top meta threats like Zygarde, Gastrodon, Corviknight, Bellibolt, and so much more. I paired it up with Corviknight and Unova Stunfisk and climbed over 100 ELO in just a few sets. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and let's go Kyurem. In game number 1, we see a bit of a scary lead leading Kyurem into Malamar. Even though Malamar can hit for super effective damage with superpower, Kyurem can always win the 2s even if I end up shielding 2 foul play baits. That is the power of being able to spam out Glaciate every 10 turns. The team, it's a pretty simple structure. I have 2 Pokemon in the back that can both beat Empoleon and both form a very nice core pairing. So if I'm able to just win alignment with my Kyurem, I should be in a pretty nice spot. Here my opponent brings out a Primarina. Now that's not something I'm ever expecting to see in the Ultra League. I save switch into the Corviknight because I have 2 better responses to Primarina, and in the back they have Primeape. Primeape will go for the Rage Fist. I end up CMP tying them, and I will go for what is now a +1 boosted Air Cutter. Air Cutter is going to get the shield. We get another boost. Realistically, I do not need these boosts to win the game, but I'll take any extra damage that I can get. I make one final Air Cutter, but I lose Charge Attack priority. I want shields down, or I just want the Primeape gone. Whether they no-shield or not, I am pretty happy here. They will end up no-shielding, sending in the Primarina, and now I get to send out Unova Stunfisk. Stunfisk will be hit with a Hydro Cannon. Charm obviously generates more energy this season as well, but I'm guaranteed to get to the double discharge, and that's going to seal Primarina's fate, as discharge number 1 will be shielded, but they cannot get the charm down, and I get to discharge number 2. This discharge will just inflict catastrophic damage onto that Primarina. Primarina is going to get Thundershock down, and we take the game 1 win. We see a great lead in the next match, Kyurem into Shadow Golurk. Shadow Golurk really does not appreciate Pokemon that have 10-turn pacing, as Golurk unfortunately will always get outpaced in the 2s. So for Kyurem, this is just a winning matchup once again. I'm more than happy to shield what's guaranteed to always be a Shadow Punch bait, because I know I always have the ability to outpace them. I get to a second Glaciate, just putting so much pressure on the Golurk. Golurk is now double debuffed, and they will finally fire off this Shadow Punch. I can always make it to a Glaciate. That's going to force them to pivot out into Kyurem. I bank a Glaciate for later, and the moment I did this, I realized that I probably should have just thrown the Glaciate, but I wanted to have the Glaciate banked. Here, I'll try and throw the Air Cutter right before they get their Glaciate, but unfortunately my counts were off by 1. That means I'm now throwing a -2 debuffed Air Cutter, so a definite misplay from me in the mid game. This Air Cutter will not get the boost. I'm trying to get to the payback. I will lose Charge Attack priority. The one good thing for me here is the fact that I do not get KO'd by the Glaciate, so I will get to one final payback. At this point, I think this is a -3 payback, so that's really not going to do a lot. They will get the farm down. I'm going to wait down the timer just a little bit, and then bring in Stunfisk. In the back, they're going to have their own Corviknight, and Stunfisk is going to do amazingly here in the zeros. I'm going to need 3 discharges to pick up the knockout, but I can always get to 3 discharges before they get to a second payback. Payback number 1 is going to connect, but as Stunfisk, I can just farm up to the back-to-back very, very comfortably, and now my opponent is in a very tricky spot. If they bring in the Kyurem, I'm going to need to snipe down the Kyurem with my own. I do have the Glaciate banked. If they bring in the Golurk, I can farm because Golurk isn't close to a move. In comes the Golurk, there's the Kyurem. I switch into my own Kyurem trying to snipe. I end up catching, but honestly, that's fine too. The important thing was I just had to prevent a Glaciate from landing on the Stunfisk. Stunfisk gets the Thundershock down, in comes Golurk, and I will be able to get the back-to-back Mud Bombs and take home the win. First Mud Bomb lands, they survive on 1 HP, we Thundershock down a Golurk, and take the win. We move to the next match. We've got the Battle of Debuffers, Kyurem versus Runerigus. I think Runerigus is an incredibly powerful Pokemon in this meta. Runerigus just offers incredible neutral play. It doesn't really have too many matchups where it feels hard-walled. I'm going to debuff with Glaciate, they're going to keep debuffing with Rock Tomb, so this matchup is definitely going to slow down dramatically the more shields that are in play. My opponent will go for another Rock Tomb. They're at -2. I will put up the shield and just look to make it to a third Glaciate. I'm just going to farm up to the back-to-back Glaciates. My opponent will get a Rock Tomb, but at -2, it should barely not knock out. So I can withstand that damage, get the double up. Probably I could have thrown Glaciate number 3 before their third Rock Tomb, but my thought process is I wanted to leave myself as low as possible after winning Switch, so whatever they brought in wouldn't get a lot of farm. It's going to be a Belly Bolt, and I'm so happy to have Switch. It's a Thundershock Belly Bolt as well. In comes Stunfisk, and they're staying in to throw a Parabolic Charge. Oh my goodness, that's going to be triple resisted, and it appears whatever they had in back did not want to see a Stunfisk, and they will resign the match. We see one of the few bad leads for Kyurem leading into Primeape. Now, Primeape is going to farm up, threatening a potential close combat. Most throw Rage Fist, so I am going to call it. It's the close combat, and I pretty much lose the game on the spot. Oh, man, that is so tragic. A 50-50 call, and I predicted they would go for the bait. They full sent, and now I'm in trouble. They end up pivoting into Corviknight. I save a ton of energy on my own Corviknight, basically 100 energy, and I'm going to bring in the Stunfisk. If I have any hope of somehow clawing my way back into this game, it's going to be with the massive energy lead that I have on my Corviknight. Discharge into the Corviknight is going to be getting them into the yellow. Discharge number 2 will get them into the red, but unfortunately will not be enough to pick up the knockout. Discharge is going to land. There's the switch into Primeape, and I have all this energy on Corviknight. It's not particularly useful in the mirror, but it's so strong here. Air Cutter after Air Cutter crashing into the Primeape, and now suddenly the tide may have turned. I still don't know what they have in the back yet, but I have to shield something. I shield up, it's the close combat, they full send, that allows me to fully sand attack them down, and I exit with so much energy. In the back is Kyurem. I'm going for a risky bait. Kyurem's love to shield the first, so I will go for the Air Cutter. I get the shield, and I get the outpace. This means I get to land a non-debuff payback, something Corviknight can almost never do. That's big damage. They're going for the Glaciate, and I realize at the last second that I have to shield. In comes their Corviknight. They did have quite a lot of loaded energy. Payback lands. I switch into the Stunfisk. I get the farm down, and now I have back-to-back Mud Bombs. Mud Bomb number 1 is going to be connecting into the Kyurem, immediately followed by Mud Bomb number 2. We lost our Kyurem right away. We didn't get any value out of it, just got close combated, but we're able to claw our way back and somehow escape with a win. Hopping into the next match, and we pick up a rare negative lead, leading Kyurem into Armored Mewtwo. I believe this is a matchup that Kyurem actually cannot win the 2s in just because Dynamic Punch is an incredibly good move. I am still going to try and stay in and play this out because I'm expecting that alignment in back will still be very, very helpful. So I will be shielding up the first Dynamic Punch and then spamming out more Glaciates. Armored Mewtwo is going to be no shielding. Mewtwo now deep into the red HP, and at -2, I should survive Dynamic Punch. I'm able to hang on, going for the Glaciate, but they snipe me with Guzzlord, and that's just sloppy gameplay by me. I absolutely needed that Glaciate. If I can get that Glaciate off, that's big damage onto the Guzzlord, or a shield, and either way, they would have been debuffed. I still have a good matchup here, Corviknight into the Guzzlord, especially with getting that first boost, but man, losing that energy is just devastating. That's very well played by my opponent, and again, just sloppy by me. I do get a second Air Cutter boost from the Corviknight, so Corviknight doing its best to try and claw my way back into this game after completely throwing away an entire Glaciate. Air Cutter is going to be shielded, and this next Brutal Swing just simply will not do enough damage. My opponent, however, does have a pacing advantage due to the 1 Dragon Tail head start that they have, so they will get to fire off another Brutal Swing, and I decide to put up the shield. I am anticipating that if I can get shields down, Stunfisk should hopefully be able to do pretty well in the back. My opponent clearly wants shields down as well. They double shield, they want the Corviknight gone, and that does make me a little bit worried. In the back is a Shadow Torterra. Oh my goodness, there's nothing Stunfisk can do, so I will resign the match. We've got mirror leads in the next match, Kyurem versus Kyurem. Very happy to see this here as my back line both lose to an opposing Kyurem. I'm able to land the Glaciate right away, and I'm always going to be shielding, as I know that I'm going to need switch advantage. In comes a Jellicent. I'm looking to bank a ton of energy with Kyurem and then send in Stunfisk. Stunfisk does have a winning matchup. With the energy lead that I've given my opponent, they can flip this, so I've turned it from a winning matchup for me into a losing matchup. But realistically, I think that's a valuable trade as long as I'm able to escape with that move banked on my Kyurem, as I think it's going to be useful in this endgame. So I get to go for the discharge. My opponent will put up a shield. They send out Runerigus as their final Pokemon. Due to the desync and the switch timers, I'm forced to throw a Mud Bomb to get my switch timer back up, and now I send out Corviknight. Corviknight is going to do very, very well into Runerigus. The fact that they're already chipped hurts the Runerigus quite a bit as well. I'm going to be -1, but a payback is still a payback. It's a terrific move, so that's going to crash into Runerigus, dealing devastating damage. I'm always going to be no-shielding the Corviknight at this point. They go for another Rock Tomb, debuffing me even further. In comes Jellicent, and now I get to go for the payback. Payback once again. This time we do see a shield from my opponent, and they will throw right away, potentially anticipating that I go for a snipe. But I stay in, and now all this energy on Kyurem that I farmed up to from earlier, this is where it pays off. Dragon Claw lands, they're going to go for a Surf, and I'm going to be shielding up everything. I should be able to Dragon Breath them into a range where Glaciate can KO, so I will overfarm here with the Kyurem, CMP tying them, hoping that a Glaciate will be enough, and it is. Their Kyurem's low, my Kyurem's low, but we survived the farm down on 1 HP. We leave with a Glaciate. That's going to be KOing Runerigus, and we escape with an incredibly close win. Hopping into the next match, we see a bit of an awkward lead Kyurem into Togekiss. Now, if you do have a good rank Kyurem can live in Aura Sphere and make it to 2 Glaciates. However, my preferred way of playing it is getting a debuff and a shield, and then just aggressively pivoting into Corviknight. I've found that a lot of Togekiss teams are structured where Togekiss is their Corviknight counter. Since Corviknight no longer runs Iron Head, Togekiss does have a winning matchup. So if you can debuff them and then switch in something that's bad for their backline, it can oftentimes stun lock a lot of Togekiss lead teams. So they're staying in, they're throwing debuffed energy, which is exactly what I want, and on top of that, a bit of good luck goes my way. I get an Air Cutter boost. Air Cutter number 2 is going to connect. The Air Cutter boost is, I believe, a 30% chance, so there'll be some matches where it feels like you're getting Air Cutter boost left and right, and others where the Air Cutter boost just simply never arrives. This is just a miscount by me. I forgot what their energy residuals were, and that cost me a shield. I get to exit up a ton of energy as the Corviknight, and I'm boosted, but man, having that shield would be so nice. I'm actually going to be +2. In comes a Confusion Cresselia, and I decide to full send, and the moment I click the payback, I knew it was a misplay. I should always go double Air Cutter there to guarantee that I can get some damage, as now, I'm actually in quite a bit of trouble, because the remainder of my team does not want to see this Cresselia. So I send in the Kyurem. I'm going to need to get some kind of damage on the Cresselia. This is a very winnable game. Unfortunately, it's going to be a lot more difficult when they get the 1 in 10% chance at a Moonblast debuff. I continue to farm up with the Kyurem, switching into the Stunfisk as they make it to another Moonblast to get that catch. Moonblast, it's debuffed, it's not going to do a whole lot of damage. In the back is Giratina altered, and this is a really bad spot to be in as the Stunfisk. So many misplays adding up in this game, and a game that should always be a win just on paper, unfortunately for me, is looking more and more like it's going to be a defeat. Dragon Claw lands, but wait, there may actually be a chance. I will fire off this Mud Bomb, clocks up, switch into Kyurem, and snipe with the Dragon Claw. Please, I need this to be enough to KO. Dragon Claw picks up the knockout, and that's going to secure us the win. In comes Cresselia. I could go for the Glaciate, but I'm going to go for the harder hitting Dragon Claw. This should be enough to knock out, I would assume, but it isn't, and I threw the game. If I had at any point thrown the Glaciate instead of the Dragon Claw, thrown double Air Cutters, I could have won this game, but unfortunately, just misplay after misplay means that a game that should always be a win for my team ends up being a loss. We pick up a good lead in the final match, and I need some redemption after the travesty that was that previous game. The good news is Kyurem has a dominant winning matchup against Guzzlord. Guzzlord will take big super effective damage from Glaciate, and with each Glaciate I throw, their Dragon Tails become less and less effective. They overfarm massively. I put up the shield. They're actually on Crunch, which is a surprise to me. And they end up making a very nice play there, waiting a few turns and getting a catch onto Skeledirge. I'm going to look to rebank a move onto my Kyurem before I bring out Unova Stunfisk. It's a pretty nice catch from my opponent, but the unfortunate thing for them is now Skeledirge is at -1 attack. They're forced to go for a Torch Song, but instead of being boosted, now they're still only at a neutral attack stat. And that means that Shadow Ball, while it's a pretty hard-hitting move, simply will not be enough damage to KO Stunfisk. However, clock is up, in comes Guzzlord, and I'm very comfortable with them throwing here, because my energy wouldn't have gone very far either way. I'd rather just have them waste energy there, and then bring in the Kyurem and just pick up the knockout with Glaciate. My opponent can't bring in the Skeleturge, it's just going to get Dragon Breath down, so they're forced into their final Pokemon, which is Drapion, and this game is over. Drapion will get debuffed with Glaciate, and then I can bring out Corviknight. This is a bad matchup. My opponent is forced to switch out to reset that Glaciate debuff, but all that does is just give free farm to the Corviknight. They can connect with a Crunch, but now Corviknight gets to spam out these Air Cutters, and unfortunately there's just not enough shields left in the world for Drapion to take home this win. Drapion will go for another charge attack, fighting it out to the bitter end as Crunch number 2 is going to connect. Unfortunately, there just isn't nearly enough health on Drapion remaining. Air Cutter will force the shield. I can pretty much sand attack them down at this range, but it'll be ever so slightly faster to go for the Air Cutter. So I reach the Air Cutter, KOing the Drapion, and we're able to finish off these sets with a win. I believe once I tallied up my sets, I went 14-6 with this team and climbed from around 2200 ELO to 2336. Now, leaderboards actually came out very, very early this season, something I was very happy about. And I believe I was within the top 300 in the world already. I believe the bottom of leaderboards at the time of recording this is 2284. So depending on where you got your starting ELO at, if you're around that ELO range, it's worth checking the global leaderboards to see if you're on there. But enough yapping about the leaderboards, let's talk about the team. Kyurem, my goodness, I am blown away by how strong Kyurem is in the Ultra League. Kyurem is easily just a hard meta mon. It beats so many of the top tier Pokemon. The Zygarde, Gastrodon, Bellibolt, Corviknight, even Malamar it's able to find win cons against. I think this Pokemon is here to stay for this entire season. It is unbelievably strong. It is the best Dragon type by far. After trying Regidrago and trying this, Regidrago is strong, but it's not winning basically every neutral like Kyurem is. So to me, Kyurem, it's an unbelievably good mon, and the good news is if you did any raids, because Kyurem's been back a lot of times, you probably have a Kyurem that's below 2500 sitting in your inventory, hopefully already with Glaciate, that if you want to test it out, you'll have the ability to do so. As for Corviknight, Corviknight is just one of the most neutral mons in this meta. Obviously, it really doesn't like Bellibolt, but outside of that, it feels like it's soft winning or soft losing basically every matchup. And that's really what you want out of a safe swap, something that in a lot of scenarios, most of the time at least, it's able to fight back even in matchups that aren't favorable to it. So I really like the updates that they've done to Corviknight, where now it can run Air Cutter and Payback. It feels like a really balanced but very strong mon. I think the most replaceable Pokemon on this team by far is Stunfisk. You could probably run a wide variety of different mons there. You could run Bellibolt, you could run different ground types. Me personally, I really like being ABA strong to Bellibolt. So that way, if I run into Bellibolt, and I really didn't see a lot in these sets, but if I do, I'm probably going to be at an advantage into my opponent because my lead and my closer both beat it. So if you don't necessarily have an XL Stunfisk, which is fair, not everyone does, those would kind of be my recommendations. Running a different ground type there could put like a Gastrodon or potentially a Runerigus, or if you want an electric type, you could put your own Bellibolt. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.